first of all, Bernadette, could you introduce yourself and tell us just a little bit more about what you do?
I can, Reese. Thank you. Yes, my name is Bernadette Russell. I'm a writer and author, writer of books, but also I work in the theatre, and I make audio story walks. So yeah, I've worked in the theatre for a long time and kind of found my way to books via live performance and storytelling. And everything I do is sort of centred around, or the heart of it is around kind of kindness and compassion, and fun. I'd say those three are the headlines.
Very good. Much the same as the theatre, really.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're speaking to a bit of a theatre buff. I've worked in theatres for the last 10, 12 years since I finished university.
Oh
So
wow.
one of the things that I do in my current role is I helped to fundraise for a new theatre in Canterbury for the
Great.
school, and then I now run the box office for the school as well. So
Great.
it's good fun. It's a beautiful new venue in the heart of Canterbury
Oh,
that we're
that's such a
hoping.
lovely thing to hear, Reese. It's so lovely to hear. It's lovely and hopeful to hear of a new venue because it's been, as you all know, a very difficult time.
It really has.
Yeah, for the live entertainment industry, amongst many others as well. What's your new theatre called?
It's called the Malthouse Theatre.
Oh,
It's just on the edge of the Canterbury town centre, and
I'm gonna come. I'm gonna come, Reese.
it is an absolutely beautiful conversion of an old malt house, and it's a stunning little venue. It's about 350 seats,
Perfect.
and it's a beautiful place.
It's sort of relevant for me because I think one of the things that really sort of ignited hope for me or made me think about hope was this sort of beautiful realization of how connected we all are, which has really been emphasized during the pandemic. I think, like you and I, complete strangers having a chat. We both work in theatre, blah blah blah. I think all of those things are really hopeful and sort of really pleasing, sort of joyful as well. That actually you can meet a total stranger and actually within a few sentences of a conversation you'll find connections and things in common. So I think it is relevant.
Absolutely, no, I would totally agree with that. It's there's a lot of hope in the theatre industry at the moment. Obviously, hopeful that things are going to turn around by the end of the year and that things will start to gradually get back to where they were, if not better. If I'm honest, I'm hopeful that there'll be a lot of people biting at the bit, hoping to go to performances, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I think there already are. I think people have, in some ways, it's been useful for us and helpful for us to realise what we've missed because when you miss something, it tells you that you love it in a way. That beautiful expression, grief is the price you pay for love. And I think knowing what we've missed and appreciating the things we've taken for granted is a gift as well as an awful thing because yeah, it makes you desperate to want to get back to the sea or back to the fun fair or back to the theatre or back to the music venue or whatever it is. So I think
Mm.
a strange blessing of this time is us learning what we've loved and not what we've missed.
That is a wonderful way of putting it. And also, I guess that also then links me very swiftly into the book that we're talking about. So, How to Be Hopeful. It really is a beautiful book. I'm going to show you Becca's copy, and you will understand just how. Look at this. This is how battered it is
Oh, I
already.
love that.
She's got post-it
That makes
notes
it.
literally running through it. There's like so many bits.
Oh,
I'm not entirely confident how she understands. She's got so many post-it notes in. Um,
I love
how
that.
she's
Reese,
how she works out which bits it is that she's looking for is quite impressive. But there you go.
gorgeous. Could you send me a picture of that with all those post-it notes
Yeah,
in?
yeah,
Because I
definitely. We
love
could take a
that.
picture.
That's made my day. Um, no, thank you. Yeah, it was a real honour to write it. I think we were going to speak about what made me decide to write it, which
Yeah,
is
absolutely. Was there a particular event or thing that you made you decide to write it in any way?
yeah. Well, so back in 2011, back in the olden days, Reese, if you remember back that far, um, I responded to the aftermath of the riots that happened that year. So there were sort of riots that spread all over the UK, and the response to them was very anti-young people, racist, and very anti-poor, and it was horrible. And for me, it was the sort of last straw. I was just like, I can't. We've got to be better than this. We have to be better than this. And I sort of decided impulsively to start trying to do a kind thing for a stranger every single day for a year, which I've now continued. So I've done a kind thing for a stranger every single day for almost 10 years now. And in the midst of all that amazing transformative experience, was really lucky to connect with, you know, community leaders and activists and artists and all sorts of people doing amazing things. And I saw this sort of kindness ecosystem grow really beautifully and flower over that time, and really blossom. But I did also start to notice, it was probably around 2016, I just noticed that those people were still doing amazing things, you know, running food banks and running after school clubs and doing amazing things, that there was a sort of sadness and a sort of hopelessness attached to that, and that a lot of that was to do with the reaction to the news, which was, and still sometimes can be, although there are notable and noble exceptions, relentlessly negative and never offering solutions. And I was literally on the bus, Reese, and I heard this woman who I know, who's an amazing community activist, and she just said, I can't watch the news anymore. It just makes me feel, it completely defeats me, and I feel really hopeless. And it started me thinking about hope. And I revisited, I had a lovely Sunday school teacher called Mrs. Hibdid. She was brilliant. And she first told me the story of Pandora's box, the classic Greek story. She was Greek, about the girl who opens the box and lets out all the evils in the world, and little hope nestles in the bottom of it, and sort of beautifully illustrates the importance and the might of tiny hope. And so I just started thinking about that, and I really, really wanted to write about it. I really passionately wanted to defend it, because I think, and I wanted to define it for myself, because for me it's not optimism, which is beautiful, but is the belief that everything's going to be okay, or pessimism, which is the belief that nothing's going to be okay. But hope feels like the acknowledgement of possibility, and of hope is a sort of call to action. So I wanted to investigate people that were in throughout history and now, against all the odds, were taking action with hope, and using hope to pull themselves out of really difficult situations, and using that as a sort of power and a strength. But I did decide to do that, Reese, before the global pandemic.
Yeah.
So I don't know if that's perfect timing or terrible timing, but I finished the first draft, and I'd kind of gone into a sort of lockdown of my own in order to write it, popped my head up, and then immediately got sent into lockdown, and was like, oh, okay, now this. And actually, sorry, I'm sort of jumping ahead to, I think, what we were going to talk about, which was the response.
Yeah, what's the response been? Exactly.
Yeah, well, it's interesting, because what happened to me was a lot of the things I've been writing and thinking about for years, and investigating and researching and talking to people all over the world about, is how amazing we are in the face of disaster or emergency or crisis. We really rise to the challenge, and we look out for each other. And there are stories throughout history and all over the world of people really responding astonishingly with great love and great care and great kindness and great compassion. And suddenly we could all see that literally on our doorsteps. There were teenage boys taking around food parcels to, you know, pensioners in Leeds. There were more volunteers than the NHS could handle signing up to volunteering. There were, you know, community choirs doing beautiful pop-up performances in the gardens outside care homes. There were WhatsApp groups popping up over neighbourhoods. There was art blossoming to cheer people up in people's windows, and chalk poetry on parks, and just this massive outpouring of care and compassion and love that was global. So I was like, oh, yeah, we really do this. Look at us doing it. Look at us looking after each other. Look at us being kind. Look at us sharing beautiful, inspiring things, and making cakes for our neighbours, and having chats across the garden fence, and all the things that I hoped and I'd read and I'd researched about were there on display for us all to see, the best of us, I think. I think we had the opportunity to see the best of ourselves and each other in this pandemic, and that was granted, and accepting that it's taken terrible things and it has been awful. It has also been wonderful, and shown us the best of ourselves. Yeah, so
I would totally agree with that. We've experienced that obviously in our local area. We went into lockdown obviously same time as yourselves, but we locked down about a week before everyone else, because Becca and I both contracted COVID.
oh,
And it was that sort of moment. It was literally a week before the nation went into lockdown, and we were just overawed really by people in the local area wanting to help us. And that's partly the reason why one of the things we're doing for this crowdfunder is that we're going to be funding free copies to then give away to the charities that helped us. So the kitchen in Cliftonville is a community cafe, and they came round within a week with just crates of food from their freezers, so that we didn't have to worry about food for the time that we were while we were locked down. And it was just, the response was just beautiful. Like you said, it really did help with filling hope.
Yeah, it really did. And that we all had the opportunity to bear witness to that very close to home, but also on the other side of the world, we saw
Yeah.
it. And so the news transformed, didn't it? You know, suddenly there was alarming news, and there were news about people dying, and that was awful. I'm not for a moment denying that there were terrible things too. But we also saw, you know, half an hour heroes. I think the BBC did a whole thing about suddenly they're acknowledging people that should have been acknowledged all the time and celebrated all the time, but they were being acknowledged and they were being celebrated, and beautiful stories of community getting together and doing things, and funny stories, and you know, everything from the vast actions of Marcus Rashford and Captain Sir Tom Moore, and also the smaller things of, you know, a little girl doing a sponsored walk to raise money to help people, you know, everything and all the things in between and all over the world. So it was an incredibly hopeful time, as well as being all the other things it was, you know, which
It
is
really
sad.
was. Yes.
Yeah.
So the book is full of things for people to try to help inspire hope. This is quite a difficult question for you. Do you have a personal favourite of those activities?
It's hard. Do you know, at the moment, I think, um, so yeah, thank you for mentioning that. I wanted to make it really practical, and some of the things won't work for people, others will. But I hope that what you'll get is better ideas inspired by my ideas. It's like a starter kit, I suppose. But one thing that's really helping me at the moment is the hope that that arises when you give yourself something to look forward to, and that thing to look forward to you can do because you can afford it, you can do because it's within the restrictions we're currently under at the moment, and that it's easy for you to do. So it's not like, you know, I don't know, go to the moon. It's not. It's a realistic thing to look forward to, like, I don't know, visit my local National Trust park, or meet up with my friend for a cup of tea. Something to look forward to that you know that you can achieve, that you can take action and do, I think is really useful at the moment. And to give ourselves that gift of something doable to look forward to every single week, I think is a really sort of powerful thing.
That's a really, really good one. I like that. I mean, we as a family have tried to do that with our boys, because obviously they've totally been affected by everything that's happened. They've been in school obviously for effectively half the last year. It's been sort of slightly strange trying to. It's actually really weird. I obviously work in a school. I don't work as a teacher, but you'd think I'd be able to teach my own children. It's quite difficult.
Yes,
But
cool.
so they've obviously been through all of that, and then we're trying to bring things in, obviously, that during the next few months, just little events. We've taken them to English heritage sites over the last few weeks. We've booked into various different places during the summer. All of those little tiny little things, we haven't actually told them about them, that we're doing them though, because we kind of felt we don't want to let them down. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no,
just
absolutely.
in just in case, come, because it's been such a weird year,
Yeah,
that just in case come July something else happens. So we
no,
thought, you know what, we're not going to tell them what it is that we're going to be doing. We're just going to tell them that we are going to be doing something, and we'll make the
yeah.
most of whatever happens, really.
No, absolutely. I think that is the way to do it. I think it's really important for us adults, whether or not we have children or don't have children, think about children at the moment as well, because I think they've had a really tough time. And I was thinking about that with regard to hope, and I feel like another really important thing, I think, just to say, to gift yourself the gift of actively seeking out positive news. And I don't mean like light, fluffy sort of there's a nice kitten, although I love those stories. Actually looking and seeking out, and it's easy to find solutions driven journalism, so you don't not defeated. And those stories are really lovely things to share with kids. I try and do it quite a lot with the children I teach, like say to them, oh look, someone's just invented like hydroponic vertical farms, you know, and show them pictures, and so they can feel hopeful about the future instead of getting scared of it, and that so can we. So just, I know you only asked me for one, but another really good thing is to sign up to newsletters with positive news and good news shared, and there's lots and lots and lots, there's lots listed in the book, and I'm happy to sort of give a list out to people as well. And that it's so lovely to open your email or and you know, and just get a list of positive news stories that are hopeful, and you can share them with your whole family. So that's another little sidebar.
That's another one that I quite like. We've got is it the Happy News? There's a newspaper.
I love that. Yes. Yeah, Emily. Yeah.
That's it. Yes. So we've got plans for that in the future, actually, to hopefully to work with them in the future as part of one of the boxes that we're doing.
Wonderful. It's so beautifully designed as well. Emily Coxhead, she's such a lovely designer. They're so colourful and yeah, brilliant.
There we go. So can you tell us anything about what you're working on at the moment? I know that you've written other books, haven't you, other than this one?
Yeah, I've written, this is my fifth book.
I think this is one of yours as well, actually.
Oh yeah.
And, so this is Do Nice, Be Kind, Spread Happy, which we worked with. We bought for the children years ago, quite a 2 years ago, I think it was.
It was longer. That was my very first book.
Oh really?
That was my first book.
There you go. So yeah, no,
so I've written a couple of children's books and 3 books. So what I'm working on a audio story walk at the moment in a wood near me in Bexley called Lesnes Abbey Woods, and it's part of the Thames Estuary Festival. And it's a series of 12 different stories you get to hear from that animals and insects and plants and other creatures that live in the woods, and it's to try and sort of embrace that moment that I think a lot of people felt when suddenly they gave themselves permission or found time to connect with the natural world and find hope there and joy there and peace there. So we made this piece called Law of the World. I'm working with a brilliant team of women, Sophie Austin, Hannah Marshall and Melanie Smith, to sort of make this beautiful map and really lovely 12 tracks, and to just encourage people to keep that up, you know, to find hope and to find joy and fun and pleasure and everything, and to know that they belong there. So that's my thing that I'm doing alongside that. And that partly came out of me really missing planting trees, because I used to plant trees a lot back before the pandemic happened. So for myself as well, I wanted to keep that connection to sort of nature and the hope that you can find there. So yeah, I'm looking forward to that. So that launches on May the 20th.
Nature really is very important to keeping a hopeful attitude. I think that's something that we as a family have found over the last years as well. Just we live in Thanet, which is obviously surrounded on 3 sides by the sea, but then on the other side by grade A agricultural land. So it's just beautiful. It's just a lovely area to have spent the last year. We've been very lucky, if that makes sense.
No, yeah, it's really lovely to recognise the fortunes you've had amongst it all, isn't it? 'Cause
yes,
I know it's often spoken of, but gratitude's really, really great. It's really lovely to just stop at the end of every day and sort of acknowledge what's to be thankful for. It's a nice thing to do, I think, as well, in terms of restoring you to hope, because you can feel like a bit sort of all defeated and everything's really hard, which it has been. But if you take a moment to say, what was I glad about, or what was I thankful for, you start to feel lucky again, don't you, Reese? You
really do. Yeah. You really do. Well, Bernadette, thank you very much for talking to us. How to Be Hopeful. Hardback is out at the moment. Paperback is coming out shortly, or is it out already?
Yeah, paperback's out on May the 13th, so very soon actually. I just wanted to say as well, I really love what you're both doing, and I'm so proud to be part of this initiative, and I am going to do my best to handwrite a postcard to every single person.
That'll be wonderful. So, yeah, that'll be wonderful. Yeah, we've managed. Obviously, we've got to the second stretch goal, which means that we're purchasing an extra 10 copies to give away. Hopefully if we get to the next one, then there'll be an extra 10, if not more. Really, that's sort of the aim, is to try and get to that next goal within the next week and a bit. So to anybody who's listening to this, if you haven't already, please do go look at the crowdfunder. Alternatively, if you simply don't want to support us but do want to, really interested in the book, we're not going to hold that against you. Do just go and purchase a copy of the book. It is a wonderful book. I really do recommend it. And Bernadette, again, thank you very much for your time.
Thank you so much, Reese. Have a nice evening.
Thank you. Bye-bye.